Pariyatti Audiobooks presents Children of Silence and Slow Time, as read by the author, Ian McCrorie.
John Keats was so struck by the bas-relief figures on a Grecian urn at the British Museum that he adopted them in his famous ode as his children of silence and slow time. My two children, Aidan and Liam, neither silent nor slow, are the very antitheses of still figures on an ancient artifact. Yet my boys and the Grecian figures typify the enduring universal nature of truth that prompted Keats to declare that all you need to know in this world is that beauty is truth and truth beauty. The innocent simplicity of children, their innate ability to melt wholeheartedly into this single moment, in essence living truthfully, echoes Keats' sentiment. The reflections presented here are also my children, offspring of my own silence and slow time in caves and forest monasteries and countless retreats. I claim, however, no pride of ownership, borrowing and paraphrasing as I did from the likes of Pythagoras, Pascal, Trungpa Rinpoche, Lao Tzu, to mention only a few whose writings I purposefully pilfered. So it's perhaps better to refer to these musings as my foster children, as did Keats, actually, in his ode. Writing poems that capture the essence of the Dhamma is akin to lassoing the wind. Though you may be very skilled with the lariat, you are doomed to failure. You are attempting to feed people by composing a menu. A wise man once said that the role of the poet is to create, in a moment, something to be read for eternity. Not being a wise man, I'll be happy with a few moments of your attention. Nevertheless, I do offer these reflections for your consideration with the fervent belief that from time to time they will hit the proverbial nail on its proverbial head. Someone else said that poetry is obtuse verbiage interrupted by poor punctuation. As an educator for almost 2 decades, I can attest that this is not the case here. The punctuation is spot on. For the verbiage, I apologize. It wasn't always so. Years back, a disgruntled parent arrived at my classroom after school. She began her tirade by berating me for the low marks her daughter had received on a recent essay. I said nothing. She threatened to go right to the top to see that I was dismissed from my position. Again, I did not say a word. She continued, "My daughter worked very hard on that paper, and you totally belittled her efforts. She spent hours in her room. Of course, she may have been doing other things. She can be really unfocused at times, and quite stubborn. Maybe that failing grade you gave her will serve as a wake-up call. She really respects you. Anyway, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate all your work on behalf of my daughter. Thanks so much." I had said nothing during the whole transaction, proving, to return to Keats again, that heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard sweeter still. Succinct, clear, and utterly devoid of obtuse verbiage, that interchange remains my best poem. Herein is a collection of reflections which fail to reach that standard. The purpose of life is to live a life that lies beyond needing a purpose. One does not need a reason to love, to smile, or to laugh. Be unreasonable. Life unfolds with a joy beyond compare when you don't try to figure it out. Riding a bicycle is ridiculously impossible, except when you do it. It is unimportant how many angels dance on the head of a pin. Of import is only that they dance. The world is so full of any number of things we should all be happy as kings. Alas, it is not so, for even kings and princes despair. The good news of the Buddha, that unhappiest of princes, is that there is no escape from this conundrum. Things do not get better, nor is the grass greener on the far side of the hill. The promised land remains forever a distant dream, for there ain't no gold in them thar hills. The wealthy suffer as do the poor. The healthy and the sick alike are miserable. The employed are as unhappy as the jobless. The married as dissatisfied as the single. And wriggling out of this most noble of truths is futile. If escape were possible, liberation would not be needed. If the Divine Mother could kiss and make it better, there would have been no Buddha. If Prozac, Botox, and mocha lattes worked, why are you reading this book? And if books worked, what is the need for a second volume? The lotus blooms only in stagnant swamps, rooted in the mud and the mire, its elegant blossoms floating above the putrid surface. It too cannot escape, so it chose to transcend. It's in the swamp, but not of the swamp. In the jungles of Isan, we meditated long into the night. By the light of the next morning, we saw we had not been alone. Near us, just off our walking path, a python lay coiled. There for days he had lain, and there for days we had meditated. Unaware of the danger lurking so close to us, we sat untroubled and focused on our meditation. Now we worried. Now we thought only of danger. Now visions of strangulation played across the movie screen of our mind. Now we meditated with one eye open. One day this python slithered deeper into the jungle. Our relief was short-lived, for we had no idea to where he had ventured, nor if and when he might return. Now we meditated with both eyes open. All had been fine before, when we shared the jungle in a quiet stalemate. He did python, we did monk. It was not the python who upset this balance, but our own fear. When fear disturbs the balance of the mind, it arouses sleeping pythons who venture we know not where, and whose return is frighteningly inevitable. The aging, nearly blind abbot knew it was time to choose his successor. He assembled his most senior monks and announced a silent pilgrimage to the cave of the sacred Emerald Buddha. Speculation as to the whereabouts of the cave was prevalent, as were stories of the beauty of the carved sacred emerald Buddha. But only the abbot could lead the monks there, and then only on the eve of choosing his successor. The trek was long and arduous, but at last they came to a well-hidden cave. "Enter, and let us meditate through the night, before the glow of the sacred emerald Buddha," instructed the abbot. One by one the monks entered and sat down. But no statue glowed before them. No emeralds were to be seen. The cave was empty. Though the monks wondered about the abbot's delusion and his failing eyesight, they obeyed his instructions and meditated through the night. At daybreak, the abbot told the monks that over time many emeralds had fallen from the statue. Each monk should take one fallen emerald back to their hut. Their tradition allowed the new abbot to return the fallen emeralds in a week's time. One by one, the monks, some repressing a smile, went to the front of the cave to remove a fallen emerald. They found only stones. But out of respect for the raging master, they dutifully retrieved those stones and placed them in the hem of their robes. A week passed, and the abbot asked for the fallen emeralds to be returned to him. Each monk dropped his precious stone into the abbot's container and then proceeded on his way. The abbot stared at each stone, squinting in the sunlight as he did so. He kept count. He knew only one monk, Rahula, who cleaned the toilets, had yet to come. Rahula finally approached. The abbot heard him searching in the hem of his robe. He saw Rahula remove a brilliant emerald. The abbot smiled. "Rahula," said the abbot, "what do you see in this container?" "Just what you asked for, venerable sir," replied Rahula. "Emeralds." "Take these emeralds back to the cave. Remember well the path you take. You are to be the next abbot. And when the time comes to choose your successor, select he who sees emeralds where others see mere stones." I'm not a very good meditator. I do not try very hard to focus. I do not keep any goal in mind. I'm not determined to succeed. I'm ambivalent about my posture, unconcerned about what my teacher thinks of me, and unmotivated to get anywhere. I do not have visions. I've never conversed with angels, nor levitated close to them. I do not care about getting better, about being healed or made whole. I do not speak a word of Pali, have never read the Tipitaka, and can't distinguish Hinayana from Mahayana. I forgot my mantra years ago. I own no crystals and channel only MTV. I live in the suburbs. I drive a Volvo. About all I can really muster is awareness. I guess I just don't get it. A debilitating infection laid waste my first trip to India. I came for enlightenment, but left with oozing sores, done in by the heat and dust. Back home I juiced, flushed, vitamined, and brown-riced in a frenzy of fearful hope, leaving no natural remedy unturned. I forsook coffee, tea, sugar, meat, fish, eggs, milk, chocolate, laughter. My dietary asceticism only made matters worse. I found myself living a short distance from my body. But tickets had been bought and plans made, so I departed once again for India, exhausted, weak, and resigned to die there. In India I had no choice but to eat all manners of fried foods. I drank chai whenever the mood struck. I devoured Bengali sweets. I poured ghee on my rice. My quest for health and defatted wholeness ground to a halt, and I shelved my dietary commandments. My anxiety dissipated, my brow unfurrowed, my fist unclenched, and I healed. The oozing sores dried, the exhaustion lifted, the spring returned to my step, and the summer to my face. Suffering is not enough. Suffering is only ennobling when we understand that it permeates everything, when we see deeply into its cause, when we are sure that an end to suffering is a distinct possibility, and when we understand what constitutes the path that leads to this end. Without these four noble truisms, suffering leads only to despair, producing a melancholic resignation of futility and quiet desperation, masked by a fatalistic stoicism, a hardening of the arteries. Gritting our teeth in the face of this despair grinds everything flat. Don't turn away from the suffering. Don't neglect or deny it. Don't try to rid yourself of pain. Don't hate it. Open yourself fully to suffering. Embrace it, befriend it, immerse it in loving kindness. Face the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows with bemused detachment. Where is the Dhamma to be found? Some seek it in isolated caves in the Himalaya or on the plateaus of Tibet. Others locate it in the jungles of Thailand and Burma, and a few are drawn to the Zen temples of Ryongji and Bulguksan. It's not found here. Some think that the Dhamma is more prevalent on extended retreats. Some feel it manifests only when engaged socially and politically. Others think it resonates most purely through mantras and chanting. And a few scholars discover it in verses of Pali and Sanskrit. It's not found there. Moving our home near it is like moving closer to the wind. Capturing it in a technique or a tradition is like bottling a sunrise. Studying it is like reading the Goldberg Variations. The truth is here, the truth is now. This truth is already held in your heart. There's nowhere to go and no what to do. You are already where you need to be and already doing what you need to do. Where is the Dhamma to be found is not the question. Where is the Dhamma not to be found speaks the truth. Meditation is staying present to the whole catastrophe. It is paying attention to your own nervous breakdown. It is making snow angels during the winter of your discontent. And with this open-eyed awareness, a smile. Always a smile. Without the smile, the bad guys win. Firstly, everything is dissatisfactory. Everything. If you think poverty is fraught with suffering, try wealth. If you think being married is full of difficulties, try being single. If you think unemployment is challenging, try being CEO. If living in the city causes you grief, try living in the forest. If living in a house unveils too many surprises, try living on the streets. If your desire is challenging, try another, more pleasurable one. If you think being alone is miserable, try moving in with your family. The exit sign flashes red, but the theater is empty. During a solitary retreat in Thailand, sitting in the heat, drenched in sweat, fending off malarial mosquitoes, a monk opened his eyes at one point and found a water buffalo staring at him. He too was standing in the heat, drenched in sweat, fending off mosquitoes. The water buffalo, the dumbest of the beasts of burden, appeared unperturbed by the heat, the sweat, and the mosquitoes. He lacked the discernment to want life to be otherwise or to desire to make it different. This buffalo became the monk's inspiration. He aspired to be as content in the Thai jungle as this beast. The monk did not wish to know what the buffalo knew. He wanted to not know what the buffalo did not know. Aspire to be as wise as that dumb beast, devoid of preference, content with no choice, free from wanting what is not, and happy with what is. This is the don't know mind. This is water buffalo mind. A novice monk was very much taken by the Buddha and his teachings. Though he already had a teacher, he asked the Buddha henceforth to be his one and only guide. The Buddha refused his request. He told his would-be devotee to remain with his present teacher. The Buddha cared not for a plethora of students. What gain would there be if his teaching spread far and wide, if the reputations of other good men were disparaged in the process? Be wary if your teacher panders to blind devotees. If your teacher points out only the shortcomings of other teachers, take note. Pause for a moment if your teacher demands to be your only teacher. Are you free to sit at the feet of another? And as the Buddha did, would your teacher encourage you to remain there? Follow only those you are free not to follow. He lived in solitary retreat high in the Himalaya above Dharamsala. For years at a stretch he meditated, never leaving his cave. A younger monk made the arduous journey through the mountains to his isolated enclave. The novice paid his respects and sat patiently, waiting some response to his unasked but obvious questions. I can only say, as far as I have advanced, that the Buddha was right. The old monk then closed his eyes and returned to his practice. The novice left with none of the answers he sought, but relieved of all his questions. The Buddha gave 82,000 discourses. In the last 2,500 years, every subsequent lecture can be summed up in those 3 words. He was right. A large forest fire destroyed everything in its path. For days in the long, dry summer it raged on. In time, residents were allowed to return. A woman was seen sitting in the ashes of her former home. She was weeping. Why did this have to happen? Summer typhoons struck the shoreline with a vengeance. The force of the wind and rain destroyed everything in its path. A farmer was seen sitting in the remains of his house, surrounded by fields of flattened corn. He, too, was weeping. Why did this have to happen? Young parents carried their infant daughter to the hospital. A life-threatening disease was diagnosed, and in time, the child died. They were weeping. Why did this have to happen? Fire burns. Rains fall. And to be born is to be one step closer to death. The question is never why, but why not? If it wasn't supposed to happen, it wouldn't have happened. Karma is merciless. Man is not disturbed by the things that happen, but by his opinion of the things that happen. I joined the retreat with some trepidation due to some discomfort in my lower back. Sitting still was difficult, so my practice entailed mostly silent walking. After the retreat, a novice told me that my peaceful and mindful walking had been a great inspiration to him. He thought I had radiated tranquility in my every step. A few minutes later, another mendicant shared that when he saw me walking so slowly, he could feel the pain and agitation in my every step. Both observations were correct, and both observations were wrong, for the very same reason. We do not see reality, we see our own bias. When we gaze into the pond, the scum we see is more reflection than observation. We dance around in a ring and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows. Not long after beginning to sit, they begin. Memories of the past, hopes for the future, the endless video loop of wrongs and retributions, worries, doubts, and fears begin their dance, obscuring any clear insight and holding liberation at bay. Your mind feels like Keith Richards' face. Too much effort to eradicate this agitation further upsets our tranquility and further clouds our focus. The tighter we cinch our belt, the bigger our head. If we loosen the belt too much, our practice falls down. Moderation in all things, we are rightly warned, but don't overdo it. The truth is not like this or like that. It defies description and belies metaphors. It is more mist than rain, more glow than flash, and more glade than forest. We don't get it. It gets us. We don't see it. It sees us. I cannot look directly at the sun's total eclipse, nor can I see it if I turn away. I can, however, experience it. I can witness it. I can be present. If we look for it, the truth lies far beyond the horizon. If we don't look for it, it's right in front of us. Life is one continuous mistake. It's not so much a melodrama as a comedy of errors in which the Dhamma edits your personal tragedy to evoke laughter with each pratfall. Longchenpa said that since everything is but an apparition, having nothing to do with good or bad, acceptance or rejection, one must well burst out in laughter. My son fell down 99 times before he walked. Falling down, no problem. Walking, no problem. Gandhi wished to die owning simply his glasses. Thoreau sought solace at Walden Pond. Though the world may be too much with us, possessions need not be relinquished, just possessiveness. The world needs not to be rejected, just worldliness. To crave to possess nothing, to long for the life of the sky-clad ascetic, reflects a fear of attachment to what you have. Possessions, after all, lead only to ownership. Craving them leads to misery. Crave no thing, not even nothing. Love is not extreme liking. Love is not passionate, but compassionate. Love is not blind, but sees everyone as family. Love does not burn, but cools the fires of lust. Love is not personal, but human. Love does not patronize, but empathizes. Love emanates. Love engulfs. Love radiates on rocky crag and furrowed field alike. I can love people I don't know. I can love people I don't like. I can even love those I love. The here, in being here now, is not a place. The now, not a moment in time. Being here is being real and being awake. Now is nurturing an authentic presence. There may seem more romantic, and when and if full of dreamy scenarios. Here and now may pale in comparison with future speculations or past reconfigurations, but they are all we need for liberation. There is just here with T added. Before we meditate, mountains are mountains and streams are streams. After some time, we begin to see that mountains are not really mountains and streams are not really streams. And with complete liberation, mountains again become mountains and streams, once again, streams. Things are not as they appear to be, nor are they any different. Even after enlightenment, the Buddha washed his bowl. I create all my own problems. In fact, I am my own problem. If I watch very carefully, I see that I Christify each and every event. My agitation, my excitement, my anger precipitates, preconditions, predetermines the ensuing eruption. It is not my problems that need solving. It is the preconditioning mind states that need dissolving. Solving problems is akin to handing the Titanic's captain a cork. Dissolving preconditions is giving him radar. Liam came to me this morning and shouted, "Daddy, let's make a 4." His excitement was infectious. Childlikeness should be the 11th parami. Neither immaturity nor irresponsibility. It is a childlike wonder at the anarchy of life, the ability to laugh in the face of the futility and hopelessness of it all, and bang our spoon on the soup pot of life for the sheer joy of making noise. Radical enchantment. The Dhamma does not invite us to come in from the rain, but to go out into the rain and play. Cultivate the childlike heart. Enlightenment is restricted to those under 10. Concentration connotes a clenching of fists, a gritting of teeth, and a pursing of lips. But right concentration is something else again. It is being present to the breath. It is bare awareness of in and out. It is the tickle of gossamer on the upper lip. We simply attend to this breath with the rapt attention of a young child at his first puppet show. Don't be afraid of fear. The Buddha saw it not as an impediment, but as an ephemeral and enigmatic construct. Fear creeps into the mind on the padded feet of worry and doubt. Once you succumb to the intriguing plot lines and scintillating scenarios purveyed by its two cohorts, fear has already usurped them and deigned himself the new commander-in-chief. Fear thrives in this milieu like a virus in an unshielded laptop. Smile, taking solace that you have already been through many terrible things in your life, a few of which actually happened. What? Me worry? Call it clarity, call it luminosity, or call it clear consciousness. Many names, but all connote an unfettered, unencumbered, unhindered, unimpeded, untangled way of seeing. It is your face before you were born. Find that face. It is your heart before you attacked it. Heal that heart. It is the trees before they became a forest. Clarity is cutting down that forest, harming not a single tree. In Upper Burma, I crossed the river and walked up the hillside. Outside the enlightenment cave of a long-departed arahant, a lone monk stood watch and invited me to sit a while. The cave was small but surprisingly comfortable. I sat for some hours experiencing a deeper clarity than ever before. Was this due to some cosmic convergence? Were the spirit guides of the cave lending a hand? Was I resonating with the vibrations of the departed arahant? Or was the cause closer to home in my own simple mind, inexperienced as I was on the Dhamma trail? Zen mind? Beginner's mind? Never mind. Some define living a natural life by the number of streams that run by their home. Returning to nature entails evergreens and owls, looms and rock faces, baked bread and open hearth fires. But within dwells the true nature we should seek, still inherently pure and serene, albeit polluted by the greenhouse emissions of modern life. It is this inner nature we must redress. Once at peace with our own true nature, we can balance our intention with our actions, and devoid of social pressures, live off the grid. A babbling brook cannot soothe a raging mind, but a quiet mind can remain at peace through a monsoon's rage. Be a light unto yourself, even to the questioning the revelations of the Buddha, by holding his truths up to the mirror of your own experience, accepting only those tenets that are reflected back. The only truth that matters is the one you discover. Seek out guides, not masters, for you must master your own life. Seek out mentors, not gurus, for you need principles, not rules. Seek out those who smile more than talk, for you need a change of heart more than intellectual stimulation. The Buddha was fully enlightened. But don't trust a word he says. Find out for yourself. You may be completely ignorant, but you are right. The farmer's oldest son died. "Oh, this is terrible news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. "Let's wait and see." His remaining profligate son returned home. "Oh, this is terrible news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. This son was very lazy, and the old man had to do all the work. "Oh, this is terrible news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. The old farmer worked hard and regained his strength and vitality. "Oh, this is wonderful news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. With nothing to do, the son took to drinking and gambling. "Oh, this is terrible news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. War broke out, but the local warlord refused to draft the farmer's drunken son. "Oh, this is wonderful news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. While celebrating his freedom, the son fell down the stairs and broke his leg. "Oh, this is terrible news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. Unable to move about, the son had to give up alcohol and gambling. "Oh, this is wonderful news," said his friends. "Let's see," said the farmer. "Let's wait and see." Every cloud has a silver lining, and every silver lining will eventually tarnish. Wait and see. Wait and see. An old monk found himself too frail and weak to continue to work in the fields. Because he was no longer contributing, he stopped eating. He prepared himself to die. His brother monks came to him. "Old man, you're being very selfish," they said. "You've stopped eating. Soon you will die. Winter is fast approaching. This means we will have to dig your grave in the cold. The earth will be frozen. The wind will bite. Have some compassion. Eat. The old monk was very wise. He agreed and ate. With the arrival of spring, he stopped eating and soon died. It was warm. The earth was soft. The winds were gentle. All things must pass. Eventually, you must meditate continuously, infusing every moment with clear comprehension. And so intensive retreats are offered to saturate the mind with this 24/7 awareness. You sit in a silent cell for weeks, months, and even years at a stretch to etch this or that technique onto the mind, ensuring your eventual liberation. But to depend on the twin catapults of isolation and duration to propel your awareness into the astral realms is folly, for you will invariably fall from grace. Without the crutches of silence and enforced asceticism, you will find yourself still jostled by the vicissitudes of life. You have become a good retreatant more than a good meditator. Sitting continuously for months in a Tibetan cave is postcard bravado if you cannot meditate here, now, on the Flatbush Avenue bus. Retreat from anger, from fear, from greed, from hatred, from jealousy, from sloth, but not from life. The silence we need resides not in our cave, but in our mind. If moment-to-moment awareness is the key to liberation, then clear comprehension arises when it is turned. The former helps you to see, the latter to understand. The former brings peace, the latter luminosity. When each moment finds you aware, your understanding of the human dynamic is extended so that you comprehend more and more clearly how change, ego, and misery permeate all phenomena. You comprehend more and more clearly how you constantly resist this law of nature and crave it to be otherwise. And you comprehend more and more clearly how these three sisters of suffering compound, confuse, and convolute the perfection of this moment. A key is but a piece of metal. It is only with its turning that the key proves its true metal. The only truth that helps is the truth that you discover on your own. The Buddha liberated only himself, and you can liberate only yourself. But the Buddha's teachings do ease our journey by identifying the pervasiveness of human misery meditating, ask if he is right. He identified the root cause of this misery. Sit still and see if he is right. He identified the state of freedom attained once this root cause has been eliminated. As you meditate, glimpses of Nibbana will prove if he is right. And he outlined the 8 stages to reach this state of freedom. When you sit, you follow these stages and witness the results. If we prove him wrong, he offers us a misery-back guarantee. Don't meditate. Simply allow the state of meditation to arise. Simply open your eyes, but keep the lids closed. Simply see what you see, but don't look for anything. Simply wait for it, but don't expect it. Meditation is like waiting for the cows to come home, knowing they never left the barn in the first place. The Noble Path is not a New Age trip. The New Age wants to heal you. The New Age paints you as injured and incomplete, in need of some crystallized, angelic convergence. The Noble Path is old age. There is no need to heal, for you're not sick. You are not injured. You are not incomplete. You have not been transgressed, and you are not a victim. You just are. And you just are the way you are. The New Age wants you to turn stones into diamonds. The Old Age wants you to see things as they really are. And when you do, you see the stones were already diamonds, and all the diamonds merely sparkling rocks. You can't meditate. I can't meditate. The Buddha couldn't meditate. But meditation can occur, provided you, me, and the Buddha stay out of the way. When you think you are meditating, start again. You can call it Vipassana if you wish. Explain your practice as Satipatthana. Tell your friends you do Anapana. Impress others by talking of Shikantaza. Or say that you simply sit. You may refer to yourself as a Buddhist, a student of the Dhamma, a layman or a monk or a nun. You can choose Hinayana or Mahayana, or Vajrayana, Soto or Rinzai, Nyingma, Gaiju, Saijia, or Geluk. You may sit on a bench on the floor or on a mat, you may chant, recite, pray, or bow, just as long as you see what is happening and you're not upset by what you see. This is Dhamma. Leave the rest to the spin doctors. If you're trying to meditate, you're not meditating. If you think you're meditating, you're not meditating. Even if you meditate, you're not meditating. But once you are not there, then you've got it. If there is a you to get it, and if there is an it to be gotten, and if you need to get what you already had to begin with, when you finally get it, you realize it isn't it. In Upper Burma, I waited to meet the revered master. Hours passed. Dusk approached. When finally the master emerged from his hut, he was almost blind and so beset with other infirmities he needed an attendant with him at all times. Yet he exhibited not a trace of remorse or bitterness. As he touched my face, the better to see me, he exuded so much compassion and unconditional love that tears of joy filled my eyes. He brought this confident, egocentric, and patronizing foreigner to his knees. Blind, hobbled, emaciated, and senile, he was the most powerful man I had ever met. Metta can indeed move mountains. Moreover, it could even move me. I was racked with fever and near delirious with worry. Am I dying? I wondered, exacerbating the symptoms of whatever illness I suffered. Why me? Why now? Eventually turned to, why not me? Why not now? And for this, I had no answer. If not me, then who else should die? And if not now, then when would be a better time? My agitation lifted, and so did the fever. Beneath every illness lies resistance. Some say they need more time to practice, thinking the Dhamma is akin to reading Proust. The Dhamma does not need time. If you can open your eyes, you can practice the Dhamma. Every waking moment is a gift for us to practice awareness, equanimity, and kindness. Planning to take time for the Dhamma is like waiting for the flood before you build a boat. There is nowhere we need go. There is nothing we need do. The entire universe dwells within us. We hold all the mountains we need climb and all the rivers we need traverse in the palm of our hand. Within my mind I find the cause of every war and the source of every conflict, and in my own heart lies all the love needed to soothe these disagreements. Going nowhere and doing nothing, I can accomplish everything, because when you do nothing, nothing is left undone. Mountains are best climbed in the full lotus. The first thing you realize when you meditate is just how crazy you are. Your monkey mind runs the gamut from chaos to catastrophe. Past injustices are revisited and future retributions plotted. Love and kindness seem absent, except in guises of guilt and remorse. Do not fret. You're not going crazy. You're already there. You need only fret when horrid thoughts arise and you think you're fine. Big men don't cry. Only the truly courageous do. Big men hide behind the skirts of ego and bravado, but the courageous warriors of Dhamma face the onslaught of outrageous fortune with awareness and equanimity. In doing so, they are humbled to tears. Only the strong and the brave can face enemies with neither sword nor shield. With truth in one hand and peace in the other, they fend off intimidation and pressure by accepting their shrill cries as simply the shock and awe of a desperate ego. The timid retreat, the frightened attack, but the brave do neither. The brave don't need to do. They are. Problems abound. Social, personal, political, and financial conundrums beset the mind, fomenting a cauldron of agitation. Trying to figure it out, to work it out, to get to the bottom of it, perpetuates the myth that the very thinking that got us into the mess in the first place will somehow free us. And so we turn to meditation to fuel the synapses of discernment, to oil the rusty wheels of logic and spark the light bulb that will illuminate the way out of our labyrinth of options and choices. But meditation is not the way out either. It is the way in. Meditation solves nothing. It dissolves. It does not reveal answers. It removes questions. Opinions and judgments remain for sure, but we no longer side with ourselves. Meditation is an opportunity to not work on our problems. It allows us the time to not get anywhere and the space to not do anything. When nothing seems to be working, you are on the right track. it is with furrowed brow and clenched fist you sit, pushing yourself, fervently hoping against hope to end the suffering that is part and parcel of human life. You will fail as miserably as if you were pasting feathers together, hoping for a duck. You will point the finger of blame at your teachers, at the technique, at your fellow seekers, at your family, at the environment and your lack of time. But you are bound to fail. You are meant to fail. You are hardwired to fall flat on your face until you abandon all hope to succeed. When you finally accept you cannot do it, and only when you succumb to the impossibility of conquering the Everest of the task before you, are you really meditating. Only then, with all your hopes for something better dashed on the rocks of futility and despair, does the brow unfurrow, and the fist unclench, and the pushing desist. You simply sit. You aren't conquering Everest. Humble before its majesty, abiding in the futility of effort, ask not for its blessing, but for forgiveness for your audacity to rise above base camp. Egos conquer. Buddhas surrender. There resides in all an inner voice, a spirit guide, an angel, or perhaps a channeled ascended master that speaks to your issues and directs your quest. This voice asks for your trust. Don't listen to it. It is wrong. The beguiling voice reflects only your desperate hope for easy solutions and tempts you with your own polluted confusion. It is the perfume of the painted harlot. The voice you need heed speaks the mist of the mountains. It whispers the scent of the desert pines. The silence of emptiness echoes the teachings of the Tathagata. Like a still forest pond reflects the full moon. Smaller vehicle or greater vehicle? The way of the elders roots out impurity and replenishes the gaping hole with perfection. Liberation is an achievement. The Mahayana route cleans the dust from our inherently enlightened mirror. Liberation is a revelation. Will it be excavation or decontamination? Choose your metaphor, but be present and be at peace. Choose A or B, but B, eh? Ultimately, you are all alone. All men are truly islands. Still, you're not abandoned nor without support. All the powers and forces for good and love and kindness engulf and nurture you. Though a shipwreck may best describe your life, and you may be hanging on to a life raft with nothing in sight but a horizon of tomorrows, the winds of Dhamma and the tides of metta will eventually bring you to the far distant shore. Your task is simply to stay on the raft and trust the forces of nature. The monks would meditate every afternoon until the abbot released them for tea. The highly sugared strong tea, especially welcome since no solid food was taken after 12 noon, would sustain them during the long evenings. One day the usual break time arrived without the customary nod of emancipation from the abbot. He remained deep in concentration. The monks grew restless. The abbot stayed steadfastly focused. The monks' agitation grew, though nary a one dared leave the hall. Reconciled to their fate, the monks gradually settled into their own deep concentration, aware that more than an old abbot's forgetfulness was at play. They felt a surge of adrenaline as they were freed from their sugar and caffeine fixation. They realized their tea break was not a necessary component of the practice. They smiled. They opened their eyes to find the abbot smiling as well, indicating his wordless discourse was complete. He exited the hall. The monks bowed and returned to their huts. Years afterwards, when the monks were asked about their master's greatest discourse, they would remain silent. After a prolonged pause, they would reply, "I guess you had to be there." Sky is sky, whether clouds are gray or white. Sky remains an empty, clear azure. The clouds, floating far below the elegant expanse, being more a byproduct of the earth's dampness than the sky's luminous grandeur. The sky is not troubled by such fleeting, floating stuff. Same with mind. It is by nature crystal and clear. Thoughts traverse the mind, some gray, some white, others dark and stormy. Don't be afraid of thoughts. Only take care lest your awareness of them be tardy. After all, these thoughts are not mind, nor mine. Cling to nothing. Why do you hold on to home, to health, to family and friends, to all that bring you hope? This drive to control that which can't be controlled unnerves and worries the mind, producing a state of perpetual ennui. Cling to nothing by letting go, not of health, but fear of disease. Letting go not of family, but concerns for their future. Letting go not of friends, but of the worry of rejection. Letting go not of enjoyment, but the aversion to pain. Your barn may have been burned down, but be happy. Now you can see the moon. Is it the wind or the flag that blows? The wind, you say, for on a calm day the flag lays limp. True enough, but it's also the flapping flag that moves the wind. Even the most passive of observers alters that which he is observing. Observer and observed dance, entwined together, each conveying the impression that they alone are leading. Pacifying our mind by altering our perception to see all things anew changes the whole world more than any army of the night. Let the storms rage. Let the winds roar and the waves crash. Still ponds fester and stagnate. Only raging waters can smooth a stone's rough edges. I don't love anyone. I don't love everyone. I don't love you, and I don't love myself. I don't love my family, and I don't love my friends. I just love. I cling, therefore I suffer. The more I cling, the more I suffer. Illness is less of a problem than clinging to health. Old age is less of a problem than clinging to youth. Poverty is less of a problem than clinging to money. Hunger is less of a problem than clinging to food. Unhappiness is less of a problem than clinging to happiness. Pain is less of a problem than clinging to pleasure. Life is less a problem when you relinquish your hold. You must learn to play the guitar without strumming the strings. In the name of the Dhamma, you arrange your life to maximize the time and space you give to meditation. You simplify, you modify, you delete. Careers are terminated, houses sold, marriages cast aside. You custom design your life like your morning latte. But setting aside time and space just for Dhamma is akin to scheduling blinking into your Palm Pilot. The Dhamma requires not a change of clothes, a change of jobs, a change of weather, a change of address, or a change of gears, but a change of mind. The point of it all is to take down the prison walls, not to make the cell more comfy. You cannot crave what you already have. You can only crave what you don't have. Therein lays the misery. Once you have what you didn't have, the craving, unquenchable and insatiable, emerges again. This person, this dream, this goal, status, power, wealth cannot assuage this gnawing hunger. It doesn't work. It has never worked. It will never work. It cannot work. When craving is present, and when is it not, it resembles the Trojan horse, all haughty grandeur, inherently hollow, but full of the force to overpower your strongest resistance. For the gypsy, it is a home. For the householder, freedom. When craving is simply noted, the gypsy finds he is already home, and the householder forever free. Learned scientists now tell us the Buddha was right. Neurologists, physicists, and psychiatrists prod and poke and test, electrify and verify and quantify and conclude that meditators are happier. Don't believe them. Don't believe the Buddha, and don't believe this book. Come and see for yourself. The Buddha's message is not found in his words, nor in empirical research, and certainly not in this poet's mercurial meanders. His message is in his smile. It's proof in yours. A man in far Mysore city garnered monies by displaying his multi-hued parrots, perched for petting and viewing on a stick supported by 2 low trees. The parrots, though untethered, did not fly away. He needed neither cage nor heavy hand to extract their submission. He had convinced the parrots that their every need could only be met if they remained quietly perched on the stick. They didn't realize they could fly. Their own fear held them firmly to that stick. Freedom was theirs if they just let go. When left to its own devices, water naturally pools in the lowest gullies. And so it is with your mind. Left on its own, thoughts meander hither and thither, eventually setting in the lower realms wherein the darkest fears reside. You immediately react when you uncover this putrid cesspool of repressed fears, your fear and ignorance darkening your vision of the swamp even more. Meditation allows you to calmly abide in this quagmire of murky pestilence. As you sit quietly, your eyes adjust to the light. It's not so dark. It's not so putrid. There is no need to fear what you don't want to know, and no need to flee from what you don't want to face. Shaking hands with the devil loosens his grip. trip the light fantastic on feet of mirth and laughter. Those guided by a childlike sense of joy and wonder have no need for the roadmap of intellectual discernment. An ever-light heart smiles at the curveball, low and away, life throws our way. We need not fear dropping the ball if we never catch it in the first place. Let it pass, as all things must. Go against the mind. If it says left, go right. If it says eat, fast. If it says sleep, work. If it says I want, renounce. And when it says I hate, embrace. The best time to sit is when you are resisting the cushion's beckoning call. Always listen to that little voice in your head and oppose it. To meditate is more than noble. It is imperative. To desist from activity and just be is profoundly enervating. To refrain from engaging with any passing thought is to immerse into everything. To sit on your cushion, to just sit, is the embodiment of perfection. To attend to this one breath, just this one, is to be, in this moment, a Buddha. The challenge is to attend to the next breath as well. Everyone seeks peace, imagining a freedom from the mind-jostling volcanic eruptions of greed and hatred. Peace must be a zap-free zone, devoid of nerve-grating negativities. It is not so. Peace is not so much a state as a process. Peace does not eliminate, it accepts. Peace does not obliterate, it welcomes. Peace does not empty, it fills. Peace opens your heart to make room for all the mind states we want so much to eradicate. We calmly abide with the disruptive forces, allowing them to be as they are. They need not be destroyed. Though the impurities do not lose their identity, they do lose their density. And, like all scum, they float to the surface where they are evaporated by the warm rays of the Dhamma Dhatu. Everything is changing. Everything is always changing. Everything is constantly always changing. everything is inherently, constantly, always changing. This flux is more than the quintessence of the human condition. It is the human condition. You aren't a human being as much as a human becoming. To understand this at the visceral level, in the heart, in the gut, to fully grok it, is to awaken to the ultimate truth. You cannot step into the same river twice. You cannot step into the river even once, for the river is pure process, an unfolding of riverness. All one can be certain of is uncertainty. My son likes the toy car at the mall. He sits in the front seat and places his hands on the steering wheel. He works the pedals. He can even honk the horn. And oh, how he loves to honk his horn. But he isn't in control. He is just along for the ride on the Kama Express. I am a torturer. I am a rapist. And I am a jackbooted racist. These beings live within me, and from time to time they raise their hands, demanding recognition and asking to be heard. When I fear these internal terrorists, when I deny their existence, when I repress their fury, they win. They get stronger. They gather momentum. Recognize them. Call them by their name and even befriend them. But keep your eye on them. Then they lose momentum. They get weaker. They implode. The first step to being a better person is to accept that you are worse than everyone else. If you must wag your finger, do so at the image before you in the mirror. The mind mirrors the body. If the body moves, the mind moves. If we still the body, we still the mind. If we stop our breathing for even a moment, the mind naturally calms. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't squirm, realign, fidget, slump, twist, turn, straighten, tilt, or fall over. Don't do. Be. Meditation is opening up to the obvious and engaging the mundane. We engross in the banal and the common. It is earthworm knowledge. We unload the silo one grain at a time. If you live the sacred and despise the ordinary, you are still bobbing in the ocean of delusion. If something magical is happening, some miracle is unfolding, or some attainment has presented itself, start again. Expect nothing to happen, and it eventually will. Freedom may be the goal, but it is not the means. Freedom as a means is profligate indolence, hiding under the thin veneer of liberty. The path to freedom begins with effort and consistency, undertaken with discipline and determination, and augmented with renunciation and simplicity before we reach liberation. Nureyev soared on calloused feet. The Buddha exemplified balance. He boldly set out for he knew not where, yet he was confident he would get there. It appeared foolhardy to renounce his princely life, yet he was sure answers lay in the desert of renunciation. You too need the courage to step into the void, faithful that your foot will strike something solid. Ready for anything, expecting nothing. Be aware. Be awake. If you think you're aware and awake, you are not. If you think, you are, and you need to keep out of this. No U-turns in Dhamma. The polluted mind reveals no wisdom. It is all false leads circling back onto itself. Smoke and mirrors, shadows and fog. We cannot think our way out of our quandary, much as we can't row a boat with a rotted hull, no matter how Olympic our stroke. Thinking things through gouges deep ruts into which we perpetually sink, leading us ever and anon over familiar turf. Look to the mind beyond the quandary. Look to the sky behind the clouds. Look to the coral reef beneath the waves. Don't let the quandary eat you up. Let it feed on itself. Perplexity eats its progeny. You dwell in a private garden of familiar discontent. You wish for peace. You wish for happiness. You wish for joy eternal. But these habituate unfamiliar territory beyond your garden's walls. Best to stay within your incarcerating misery and dream of better days, forever past or never to be. You are addicted to your discontent. It extends a kinship of a familiarity, a hazy, perplexing, consistent malaise that you think is the real you. You do not suffer. Only the person you imagine yourself to be suffers. Yours is a learned discontent, an ingrained response, deeply rooted in your unconscious. You feel alive when this reactive pattern surges through your veins and you addict to the rush. Your jaded myopia conceals even the garden walls that confine you, let alone the door within that is always open to the great, clear beyond. It's never too late to be what you might have been. It is really so simple. Watch and remain balanced. Be present to all as it unfolds, neither wanting it to turn this way or that, nor angry should it not bend to your demands. So simple. It is really so hard. Watch and remain balanced to all and sundry, thoughts and events as they arise. Seek neither lottery rewards nor fear crucifixion. So hard. The more we try, the harder it is. The less we try, the simpler. The thoughts that invade your consciousness, this worry that swamps your being, or that desire that pinches you like a vice, cries out for your total attention. "Look at me," each spoiled brat screams. "I need you, here, now." You have nurtured these errant thoughts and feelings into petulant offspring by seating them front row, center stage. You feed them, attend to them, stroke them, and empower them. You are afraid to ignore them. You need to deal with them now. You handed them the keys to the castle. You made them the rulers. You succumbed to their diatribes. You prostrated yourself before the infantile wailing of envy and lust. You need to regain control of your life. You need to desist from rolling with each and every bump and curve in the mind way. You need to do nothing. Like the flowers in a rainstorm that bend and sway but remain firmly rooted in clear awareness. Hear their demands. Hear their shrill screams. Listen to their supplications, but answer them not. When these obsessive telemarketers call, let the machine get it. You who are now reading this are a different person from the one who read the previous page. You have changed. Part of you has died and part has been reborn. You cannot relive the past. You cannot revive your old self. He who was no longer is, and he who is will not be he who will be. You don't have to change. You already have. No need to turn over a new leaf, to turn the corner, or turn your life around. You have been turned, whether you like it or not. And you were flipped, sunny side up. Do not seek the truth. Merely cease to cherish your own ideas and opinions. Do not seek the truth, but continue truthfully searching. You haven't lost anything, nor is there anything you need find. It is a goalless goal. The question is not, what are you looking for, but who is looking for what? You are looking for he who looks. The truth is not so much found as it is revealed, and it is revealed by this very act of looking. The act of looking is the truth. When you look, you just simply see. When you attend to the unfolding of reality as it is, you have already found what you thought you were looking for. It is all futile. In the end, it is hopeless. Even in the beginning, the struggle is a waste. To realize this truth without descending into despair is noble. And noble futility will take you from befuddlement to, if not the cosmic, at least the comic. Never despair. There is always hopelessness. I struggled with a poem on compassion. Words and images lay splattered on the page like an ostrich egg under a fire truck. Metaphors eluded my grasp. Anecdotes migrated to far-off isles. Imagination lay stagnant like so much still water on a moonless night. My wife announced that she had invited friends for dinner. "We could have discussed this first," I intoned, my jab edged with patronizing sarcasm. "I have some writing on compassion I must finish." It is futile to read these missives of Dhamma without nurturing their inducements to a kinder life. More futile yet is writing the missives in the first place without heeding the teachings, for only he who acts wisely is so. He who merely speaks wisely is just another hawker in the spiritual supermarket. The pen is mightier than the sword, but both pen and sword pale in comparison with the gentle heart. It is our attachments that cause us pain. Even our attachment to being unattached is fraught with misery. Better to be aware when and if and how I am attached than to be unaware when and if and how I am not attached. Let go of your misery for sure, but let go of your attainments even more so. Staring in amazement at how far you have come is a sure sign that you have much further to go. Although gold dust is precious, when it gets in your eyes, it obstructs your vision. Progress is not measured by how far, but by how still. Over 2 millennia ago, the Buddha proposed the practice of dual tasking. Never awareness without equanimity, and never equanimity without awareness. Equanimity and awareness are the 2 wheels of a bicycle. They are the 2 wings of the dove, forever linked in tandem, like rock and roll and yin and yang. Awareness is pass and go. Equanimity is collecting $200. Once you get past the fear, the angst, the doubt, and the confusion, watching becomes a fascinating experience. When there is no timeline to which to adhere, when there is no agenda, when you want to neither eradicate nor induce, watching thoughts, emotions, dreams, and worries is like viewing a summer storm from the cozy confines of a mountain cabin. The abbot came by the newly erected Dhamma hall and inquired of his novice monks how the project was progressing. "It's all finished but the details," the youngest novice replied. The aging abbot shook his head. "It is all only details," he murmured. There is indeed no big picture, no panorama of perfected harmony. Looking to the heavens lands us quickly in a quagmire. It is a collage of minutiae, of detailed filigree, a panoply of pixels to which you must pay attention. It is not so much looking for the needle in the haystack, but looking at each piece of straw therein. Sankhara. These old familiar habit patterns, born in the recesses of the antediluvian plain, are destined to replay for eons upon eons, ensnaring every thought, every emotion in a miasma of interwoven cobwebs. Your sankharas fit you like a familiar baseball mitt. Though you be buffeted and cajoled by them, though you abhor their power, you are at the same time addicted to responding in predetermined patterns. They delude you into thinking this is the way you are. You may revel in knowing yourself when it is only these habit patterns you know, while your true nature lies obscured beneath a blanket of blind bravado. You are a perpetual mistaken identity. These constantly reinforced reactive habits have kidnapped your true nature and demanded a ransom of lifelong obeisance. You are the heir of your karma. This is your only inheritance. You are as you did. You will be as you are now doing. What is past is indeed prologue. The past isn't dead. It isn't even past. Renounce all that impedes your journey to the light, not out of stoicism, denial, hatred, or superiority, but simply to separate needs from wants. It is not, I will not, I cannot, or I must not, but I need not. I need not at this moment indulge this whim, releases you from the clutches of insatiable craving. Lagom, the Swedes say. Just this is enough. This is true freedom. This is true liberation. For he who desires nothing, everything seems a miracle. The truth that sets you free does not abide in the realm of pure reason. It cannot be reached on flights of fanciful argument, nor through the thrust and parry of opinionated discussion. The more we talk, the more we talk. Truth is the way it is, and the way it is flashes before the mind's eye in a kensho of clarity after eons of effortless striving. To see the truth is to understand the truth, and to understand the truth is liberation. And so our practice must lift the veils of ignorance that obscure our vision. Until we do so, we remain engulfed in fog, frantically rowing about in concentric circles of futility, hopelessly lost, endlessly searching, unaware that this rowing about, this fervent striving for escape, leads only deeper into the morass. The more we row, the denser the fog. Truth that can be discussed is not the truth. Meditation nurtures how to know when you know there is no thing to know except knowing this. Meditation helps you to find what you never lost. Just sitting must be right sitting, and right sitting implies an investigative element that propels meditation beyond the realm of relaxation into the domain of insight. Just sitting must be true sitting, and true sitting implies a courageous honesty to be fully present to the arising and passing away of mental conditionings. Just sitting must be simply sitting. And simply sitting implies a non-intellectual introspection of the reality of here and now. Just sit. Right, true, and simple. So put the book down. Keep reading, but put the book down. There must be more to life than speed. When you live a short distance from your body, in the state of constant modernity, involved with the to and fro, perpetually preparing to really live, you neglect the gifts of here and now. When scintillating scenarios of anticipated hopes act on the mind's stage, or when obsessions with past injustices and disappointments demand retribution, understanding cannot arise. Open your heart to the miracle of this simple moment. Do not fret what was, and do not plan what may be. Do not expect even the next moment. Sit as if you are viewing a play. On stage sits anxiety. What a good actor, able to stir up all matters mundane into tempests. Doubt enters. Like Shakespeare's fool, he comments on the very play itself, casting dispersion on the entire process. As comic relief, here's joy. And what a relief she is. Pity she never stays long. As usual, sadness follows her exit, bringing a pall over the entire play. The usual actors come and go, lurking sometimes in the background, at other times charging to center stage. When we identify so much with the actors, relating to the conundrums and conflicts into which they enter, we surrender our ability to see the performance as just so much smoke and fury, ultimately signifying nothing. We think the play's the thing, but it is mere illusion. Only the viewers are real. Lay it down. Lay everything down. persistently and consistently until laying down becomes the new habit pattern of the mind. It is not your burdens, however, that you need lift off your shoulders, nor is it your problems, your woes or fears that you need relinquish. You need lay down your obsession, your concern, your involvement with your burden, your problems, your woes, your fears. Burdens are the stuff of life. They are your inheritance from your past actions. They are real. They keep you human. They are not heavy. They are your brothers. They are also your teachers. It is the desire to lay your burdens down that adds the weight. You must hold on while you let go. Letting go only occurs when you are holding tightly to here and now. Sitting here, now, trumps standing there, then. Letting go is not rethinking, nor relieving, reviewing, rehearsing, replaying, reliving, but it is real living. Here, now, with this breath. Hold on tightly, but don't close your fist. There is no greater teacher than your worst nightmare. Without your enemies, and without fear of these same enemies, where would you be? Luxuriating in divine oblivion, deluding yourself that you are but one breath from liberation. Your enemies make you uncomfortable. They push your buttons. They expose your prejudices and preconceptions and uncover your most basic of tendencies. Be thankful. It is not what you know, but what you don't know about yourself that deepens your practice, and this can best be revealed to you by those you don't want to know. Every moment you feel uneasy, a teacher is near and a lesson is unfolding. According to the traditions of the forest monasteries of Isan, before a monk may leave the protective guidance of his preceptor, he must spend a night in the jungle, alone and unsheltered. Python, tiger, and jungle cat abound here. All are nocturnal hunters, and all are hungry. Monk sous l'arbre is a rare delicacy. The monk takes a comfortable seated position under a tree, vows not to move, and meditates through the night, emanating love and kindness to protect himself from all manner of beast. If and when he returns to the monastery with all extremities intact, he will be freed from his vows of obeisance to his preceptor, having demonstrated that his love and kindness is strong enough indeed to fend off the destructive forces of Mara and to warrant independence. Monks have sat still, immersed in loving kindness, as pythons slithered slowly over them. A few in the morning have found a jungle cat sleeping beside them. Metta. Don't leave home without it. Cosmic consciousness having thus far eluded me, I have settled for a state of comic consciousness, wherein irony reigns supreme and hoisting myself in my own petard is the national sport. I long for a cave in Isan, yet am happily ensconced in my suburban bungalow. I love to hike the Himalaya, yet I drive my Volvo to the local market. I write of the benefits of a strong spiritual practice, yet devour my weekly Sports Illustrated. I march for peace, yet teach my son to box. I live a life of quiet solemnity, yet prefer the boss at full throttle. I yam what I yam. I do find my life quite funny. Life occurs between a rock and a hard place. You are trapped between the rock of being born and the hard place of death. And you can choose to flee or to fight. You can fly from reality on drugged wings of sensual fancy for momentary relief, or you can stand firm on your religious convictions that eternal deliverance is nigh. Misery repressed with a scream of tortured excess or with a howl of righteous indignation. The Buddha suggested a middle way of neither flight nor fight, neither repression nor expression, neither highway nor my way. Simply sit between the rock and the hard place. Abide there calmly and just see what unfolds. Expect nothing to happen, and in time it will. The Dhamma is not a spiritual practice. It is not a feel-good, ethereal, evanescent, angels dancing on a pin, pie in the sky, warm and fuzzy, new age, psychotherapeutic Botox for the mind. It is a path for warriors. Only the bravest of combatants are willing to face the slings and arrows of outrageous mental defilements without retreating into morose anxiety or suing for a complacent peace. The path is laser straight. It demands absolute 20/20 insight of the reality of here and now. You can't run and you can't hide. The path offers neither escape nor exit. The path is not a way out, but a way in and ultimately through. Before the dawn of liberation, you must face the dark night of your own entrapment. And this you do alone, with neither sword nor shield, but with the unshakable knowledge that it can be done, it will be done, and it must be done. The Dhamma is the ultimate reality show. If you crave for the truth, how is that different from pursuing fame and riches? If you don't seek the truth, how different are you from the fauna of the forest? You must seek without seeking. Surely the truth can never be found by seeking, yet only seekers find it. Surrender to the hopelessness of ever freeing yourself from the quicksand of human frailty. It is hopeless. You are helpless. The direct line to tech support responds only after you hang up. To err is human, and to forgive may be divine, but true pardon falls short until you accept that you also need forgiveness. You too are preconditioned to fall short of perfection. You too are a victim of human frailty, the universal human condition. Only meditation can recondition the precondition of the human condition. And it does so unconditionally. By accepting the ubiquity of human frailty, you nurture empathy, enabling you to recognize your own imperfection in others. Seeing the universality of human frailty transports us from the quagmire of self to the heavens. Sainthood is bestowed not on those whose heads are in the clouds, but on those whose feet slither in the mud. If you weren't falling on your face, you could never see your fellow beings eye to eye. Wisdom is oftentimes nearer when you stoop than when you soar. All alone, all together, I-lands unto ourselves, unique constructs of preconditioning, the beneficiaries of myriad past deeds, and ultimately wholly responsible for our own unfolding. We are yet all joined at the hip, heart-linked together by human frailty, and the hope that spiritual salvation awaits the good and the strong. Paddling our own canoe in others' choppy wakes. The monk, Tenzin Gyatso by name, walked with a stoop. He had poor eyesight and constant pain in his right leg. His command of English left much to be desired. He had no home, and he had no country. And yet he smiled. His eyes danced with levity and mirth. His happiness was infectious, and it underscored his message of peace. He had only love for those who stole his homeland, and his love brought the largest nation in the world to its knees. He faced the largest army on earth with naught else but a tender smile, and won the hearts and minds of the people of the world. The soldiers may take his homeland, they may destroy ancient monasteries, they may imprison and torture countless countrymen, and they may even take his life. But they cannot defeat him. They cannot make him fight. They cannot make him hate. The strongest army is no match for a smiling heart. The entire universe is ruled by cause and effect. Every action of every being at every moment results in a consequence. And behind every action of every being at every moment lies a thought. As a man thinketh, so he is. As a man thinketh, so is the entire universe. Think about it. May I be well, happy, and at peace. May my wife be likewise well, happy, and at peace. May my sons grow up true and strong. May my family be free from want. May my friends be loving, kind, and forthright. May our leaders be honest, compassionate, and wise. May those who wish us harm be happy, calm, and sympathetic. May my door always be open to those in need of rest. May my home always be open to those in need of sustenance. May my heart always be open to those in need of love. I forgive all those who may have hurt me through their physical or mental deeds, and I beg forgiveness from all those whom I may have harmed through my physical or mental deeds. May all beings, male or female, large or small, two-legged or four-legged, multi-legged or no-legged, visible or invisible in this plane of existence or another plane of existence, be happy, be peaceful, be liberated. When you meditate, you set aside time to distinguish what is impermanent from what is not, what is path from what is not, and what nurtures happiness from what does not. Like a good scientist, you dissect and separate the real from the apparent. This is wisdom. And like a good scientist, you do so with a serene detachment. This is joy. Meditation is not ascending above reality, but a burrowing into it. We aren't eagles. We are earthworms. Meditation does not lead to truth. Do not seek the truth. Merely cease to cherish your own ideas and opinions. Don't look for the truth, because the looking is the truth. No need to find what was never lost. You aren't looking for the truth. You are truthing. All path, no destination. There is no need to seek anything, anywhere, anyhow. Enlightenment is not found by acquiring, but by letting go. Walking on the beach leaves no footprints. What if you are realizing your dream? What if you are exactly where you should be? What if you are already the happiest person in the world? What if you simply don't know that you know? What if your dream of more is actually the nightmare from which you are trying to wake? More, not to mention most, is fraught with as much misery as less, not to mention little. There is no need to venture elsewhere. Nothing you don't already have can make you any happier. All you need to know is that a mountain is a mountain, and a river. A rich man is not one who has the most, but one who needs the least. Thoughts are not the problem. They are fleet-of-foot ephemera, the wind in the willows of your mind. Whenever you engage them, you anoint them with an oil of legitimacy and bestow upon them a crown of permanency they cannot wear. Like painting the ebb and flow of the rolling seas, you try to capture what has already passed on the mind's canvas. You stare at your artistry, delighting in its grandeur, reacting to blobs of blue paint while the real waves have long passed on. You are left bobbing in their wake. It is indeed difficult to find your true self, since your true self is neither true nor yourself. Peeling away layer upon layer of the onion leaves you empty-handed, and smelling badly to boot. No inner onion exists. Dismantling a watch yields only wheels and gears and levers. The watch cannot be found. Truth and self are the push-me, pull-you of your quest, tugging you in opposite directions, for true self is the oxymoron of liberation. What is true has no self, and what has self cannot be true. What are you looking for? Who is looking? Why are you looking? We look because that is what we do. We are lookers. We are seekers. We are explorers. What we are looking for is who is doing the looking. And the who doing the looking is just the looking itself. No what, no who, no why, no when, no where, no how. Know this. The student gazed across the river and saw his master on the other side, seated under a cooling banyan tree. "Master," asked the student, "how do I get to the other side?" "You are on the other side," replied the master. The Buddha became a Buddha when he realized he was on the other side the whole time. Whose side are you on? Arguments abound over the authenticity of texts. Each school, each sect, each tradition has very good reasons to believe it represents the one and only path. Their arguments are infallible, their support irrefutable, and their conclusions solid because logic and reason are on their side. Each is right, though they are all wrong. The one and only path is simply the path that resonates with you. Your own discoveries will support you, and your own insights will guide you. Listen to everyone, but heed no one's call. The pundits and professors reading, writing, and arguing esoteric minutiae, yet who practice not, live in a virtual reality generated by computer graphics in a monastic matrix. I met a monk home to care for his ailing mother after decades in the forest. I too had surrendered solitary asceticism for home and hearth, to marry and raise my sons. "Big changes," he said of my life. "Big changes," I replied about his. Both of us had turned our lives 360 degrees around, ironically finding ourselves flipped back onto the same path. the path of love, equanimity, joy, and service. Whether in the forest cave, at the hospital bed, at the graveside, or rocking the cradle, the practice of Dhamma remains the same. Big change, or little change, or no change. We can all spare some change for those in need. It was the last day of a meditation retreat. During 10 intensive days, I guided the perplexed students and answered their myriad questions. I must say I did a most admirable job. Assembled before me that last evening were the servers and managers of the retreat. I noticed the senior manager tuck a thank you card under her knee. How unnecessary, but how sweet. Silently, I reviewed my discourse on selfless service. I would humbly mention that we received no compensation, monetary or otherwise, for our work. I was very proud of my lack of pride. I would be well prepared to discourse on humility when the thank you card was presented to me. If they love me before the card, We talked of preparations for the next morning, and we reviewed the week and what we had learned. I said good night and waited, oh, so humbly. The senior manager stood, card in hand, and left the hall with the other servers. The card had not been for me. I'm not sure what message it contained, but surely it paled in comparison to the one I received that evening. What truth may be herein contained lies not in the words, but in the spaces betwixt. And it is to this emptiness, to this silence, to the quiet there that we must turn to find the truth. True, the pen is mightier than the sword, but stronger yet is the blank page. Open, simple and unadorned, empty, save for the focus of your attention upon its offering of unbridled purity. Silence is the perennial flow of language, interrupted by words. You need to be filled with this emptiness. I no longer meditate in jungle caves or sit for months in quiet solitude. I have 2 sons now, and it is they who are my joyful focus. I wear the vigilant visage of the harried parent, not the wan stare of the mountain hermit. I measure my days in soiled nappies and teething rings. Pali chanting no longer fills the air, just the jingles of the wiggles. The Visuddhimagga has been shelved, replaced by goodnight gorilla. I seek not enlightenment, but a quiet dinner. All has changed, and nothing has changed. In leaving and returning, I remained at home. This moment is still this moment. This breath still goes in and then out. I haul water. I hew wood. I change diapers. I sit in quiet solitude, chasing my sons around the yard. Don't meditate when you sit. To meditate implies a technique, a method, a particular skill of introspective intensity, mastered by few, taught by even fewer. In truth, it is nothing much. It's just looking within, seeing what goes on behind your eyeballs. It's paying attention to your inattentiveness, a kind of passive activity, engaged inertia, assertive atrophy, full throttle coasting, pedal to the metal parking, determined lethargy. Learn to be silent. Let your quiet mind listen and absorb. All man's miseries derive from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone. You know before you know you know. When you really pay attention, you become aware of subtle shifts of sensations that arise before the rational mind engages. You know when you feel the truth at a visceral level. Intuition emerges, retrained and strengthened, ready to guide and protect. You already know the truth. The Dhamma simply enables you to know you know. Do you know that? A father, hand in hand with his 3-year-old son, arrived one morning at our plastic-sheeted, mud-floored tea house on Nataji Pagoda Road. They sat on low stools, drank their tea, and ate their breakfast breadstick. The father left on an errand, leaving his son alone at the table. The boy drank his tea, ate his breadstick, and watched the passing scene of barefooted monks and school children, rickshaw drivers and housewives. Surrounded by friends and compatriots, the young boy appeared unperturbed by his father's absence. Everything was aright in his universe. He had tea, food, and love. But surely they need democracy. They need the right to vote. They need a free market economy. They need Walmart. They need to be more like us. The father and son left the cafe after their breakfast. They were still holding hands as I watched them turn the corner. Poor, wretched souls. The double helix of DNA holds our genetic blueprint. Blake held the entire universe in his hand, and putting all his attention on one breath, the Buddha entered the deathless realm. It seems that the smaller things get, the more truth they can hold. Sometimes we just need to be amazed by the small things. A man came upon a poor frog stuck in the middle of the road. The frog seemed immobilized by fear. He gently scooped up the trembling frog and carried him to the side of the road. He stroked the frog and stepped back to bask in the sunny glow of his charity and love when the snake from whom the frog was escaping emerged from the side brush and swallowed the frog whole. Compassion must be married with wisdom. Otherwise, its good intentions are devoured by snakes in the grass. The miracle of meditation is not the answers we get, but the questions we relinquish. Just as the nightingale's trill is muffled under the tramping of our boots, so too the sweet song of insight remains unheard over the shrill call for answers. You don't need to know anymore. You need empty yourself of doubts and curiosity. Stars come out to dance on the water only after the fog dissipates. Not everyone catches a wild turkey, but only a person who is actually running can hope to do so. Enlightenment comes only to he who fervently pursues it without expecting any success. Strive earnestly and fervently, prepared to lose every battle but the last one. Like miners digging out a tunnel, one bucket of dirt at a time, sometimes we have no sense of progress. Each bucket dug reveals another awaiting our attention. Each bucket is given our undivided attention without any hope or expectation to break through to the other side. Eventually, there is a breakthrough. How did this final bucket differ from the first? Countless buckets to reveal one thin sliver of light. With awareness, things are just as they are. Without awareness, things are just as they are. Essence is immobile. Perception alone shifts hell 1/16 of an inch into heaven. equating the Dhamma with a technique of meditation is akin to throwing away the apple and eating the core. If you can learn it, if you get good at it, it isn't it. Immortality is not living forever, but overcoming our fear of death. Without fear, each day is an eternity, and each night a sleep fit for angels. Today is not the first day of the rest of your life. It is the only day of your life. The secret is to live it to its fullest, as if it was any other day. It comes but once in a lifetime. Nothing special. This is what the Buddha knew. When you know this, you too will be a Buddha. Don't try to get somewhere, because then you would not be here. Here is where you need to stay, because there is but a projection of your fear and hope. Here is meditation. Elsewhere, trepidation. Wishing things to be other than they are is like pasting feathers together, hoping for a duck. No amount of hope, goodwill, or supplication to a higher source is going to make it quack. Knocking on heaven's door merely calcifies your knuckles. All your prayers will be answered when you get off your knees. You can choose the path of the victim or the path of the warrior. The former begs for a life stolen from them. The latter stands alone on the rocky cliff and stares down the thieves of the night, neither giving nor asking quarter, until they reveal themselves as only so much smoke and thunder, unable to steal what wasn't given to them in the first place. The reclusive life in Himalayan caves is exotic only to the accountant in Topeka. Anyone who shuts their eyes is a cave dweller. And any mendicant who concerns himself with the next moment is a Kansas bookkeeper. What is the use of reading all this poetry? Your life, in all its dung-heaped majesty, is poetry enough for all the Buddhas. Your free verse scans better than another's iambic pentameter. The abbot was fond of encouraging his monks with the Buddha's admonition, when eating, just eating, when reading, just reading. One day, a novice found the abbot reading a newspaper while he ate his breakfast. The quizzical look on the face of the novice prompted the abbot to reply, "When eating and reading the newspaper, just eating and reading the newspaper." As I write these words, I pour a cup of tea and wonder, who is this actor who writes such drivel? Since the best you can have is a mere image of yourself, how can you then decide what you should or should not do? This is like dining on sliced enigma, dipped in fog, and wondering why you remain famished. In Asia, the practice of meditation is stuck on form, full of rites and rituals. In America, we have gone beyond form. We have burned the Buddha images and stripped ourselves of robes and chanting. We are stuck in anti-form. Form or no form, just sit straight. Don't kill the Buddha before you meet him. Searching for happiness and riches and fame is like digging in the ground, looking for blue sky. Look upward, above the clouds, for there the sky is eternally blue. When I was young, we were so very poor. We had sufficient food, of course, a warm house, and good enough clothes, but other than that, we were so very poor. Our entertainment was of the simple kind. Saturday night hockey games, Sundays, and the Boy Scouts at church, and long walks in the park. We could afford naught else, for we were so very poor. Perhaps our parents loved us, coached our teams, and supported our dreams all the more because we were so very poor. Not for us were trips to the mall, colored televisions, or dinners out, for those were beyond our kip. When I was young, we were so very poor. I'm glad my children can say the same. All religions are true in the lies they tell. This path or that, it doesn't matter, for they all lead to the same cul-de-sac. any truth that can be packaged into a doctrine expounding heavenly rewards and eternal damnation overseen by the same God cannot be true. If you can only believe it and not experience it, you've missed it. Do not mistake the finger that points to the moon for the moon itself. Even a Buddha can but show the direction. He cannot drop the destination in your lap. We tend to get caught up in the pointing, whether it is a big or little finger, a crooked digit or lacer straight, a prophetic or empirical gesture. The path is clear to those who can see. Don't get waylaid by the trucker's lights at the side of the road. You are all addicts. You are all addicted to your drug of choice, be it anger, lust, jealousy, pleasure, guilt, or worry. Every interaction, every thought, every sight, smell, touch, sound, or taste results in an all-so-familiar biochemical reaction, an adrenaline-like secretion which intoxicates you. Unpleasant though it be, this surge of energy is inevitably followed by momentary relief when your anger is vented, your lust satisfied, your jealousy requited, your pleasure realized, your guilt assuaged, your worry abated. You enjoy the anteceding, unpleasant energy surge because its ensuing release is so sweet. You feel uneasy when you are at peace. You fear tranquility. Quietude is boring because there can be no thrill of release from contentment. You are so addicted to peaks and valleys that you flee the plains below. Live the Dhamma. Proselytizers shout vacuities, quiet minds model purity. If this is the one and only path, there is no need to sell maps in the marketplace. Walk the path, and others will follow. No need to let go. Letting go is letting go of the need to let go. When the light is on, there is no need to chase away the dark. All things must pass. All your thoughts, your judgments, your emotions are passing fancies. They are not you. They are not even real, fabricated as they are by your own intrinsic bias and trepidation. What transforms this ethereal flux into mass? What perpetuates that which is so fleeting? What rejuvenates that which is on its way out is your fear that this fleeting and exiting ephemera may last forever. Thoughts arise in the mind with a certain limited energy. Left unattended, they must eventually burn themselves out. But you intervene. You intercourse and interact with them, further fueling these unwanted states. You empower what was once a monologue, creating a dialogue. You are too polite to hang up. There is no need to respond to unsolicited spam. The first insight arises when you uncover the horror hidden in the deepest recesses of the mind. Your delusions about your humanity, your pretensions about your compassion and love dissolve onto the mat beneath you. These hellish visions may overpower, revealing the real you to friends and family. The second insight arises when you discover that this horror show is ephemeral. It is not you. It has no power. It passes. The trick is to persevere between the two insights. Keep on trucking, though ever doubtful and anxiously concerned that you will not reach the second insight before nightfall. The highway between insights seems endless, but inevitably it passes in a single breath. Meditation is neither system, nor technique, nor way of thinking. It does not reconfigure thoughts into a sensible, discernible order. You will not be smarter. You will not be better organized. You will not be thinner. However, neither will you be the same. Long breath, short breath, deep breath, shallow breath, agitated mind, calm mind, angry mind, peaceful mind. The mind states are as they are. Meditation does not orchestrate them into a symphony of your choice, but nurtures a simple, wakeful presence from the cacophony of dissonance. Soup still stains your tie, but you recall only its bouquet. When you first set aside yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's dreams to just abide in the now on your cushion, the bliss you think you should be experiencing eludes you. Your monkey mind jumps from anger to hatred and lust to boredom in the blink of an eye. Congratulations. You have burst the delusion that you are pure and loving. No longer can you hide this misconception beneath the veneer of a smile and a glad hand. You cannot heal what you flee. Facing this truth must precede understanding the truth. Most of the time, what you face is not pretty, but better an enemy you know than a friend you don't. And the greatest enemy is the hidden one. During long retreats, I seem to dance with a different partner every day. I've twisted with fear, tangoed with anger, and jived with agitation. Each new day brought a new dancing partner. "Good morning, Mara," I would say to myself upon arising. "And with whom will I be dancing today?" Soon my partner would introduce herself, and off we would go. I insisted on leading. My different partners would resist from time to time, wishing to set the tone and the tempo, but I remained steadfast and mostly enjoyed our spin on the floor. Our practice must be a dance, not a struggle. And our training teaches us to lead. Shall we dance? You can't do it because you and the it you think you want to do are the same. The looker and what is looked for abide together in the act of looking. No looker, no lookee, only looking. Whither happiness? Happiest is he who cares not a jot for the question, knowing full well that attempting an answer precipitates such agitation as to propel him from heaven to hell in a single breath. Whither happiness is a question that sends you looking in your jeans for your La Traviata tickets. Whither happiness? I feel sorry for those who ask such a question, even sorrier for those who have an answer. When you bow, raising calluses on your forehead, light candles sufficient to land a 747, or perform prostrations from lay to Gaia, you are only paying respect to the outward form of your practice. Prostrate yourself, certainly, but only if you aren't counting the number. Light candles, of course, but only if the electricity is out. Bow, if you must, but only until you're bowing, even when you're not.
Pariyatti, a non-profit organization, offers a wide variety of books, ebooks, videos, and audiobooks about the teachings of the Buddha, the Pali language, and Vipassana meditation. Browse our complete catalog at www.pariyatti.org. That's pariyatti.org.